Yeah.
My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
Welcome into Judd's Hockey Show from Grand Casino Arena. It is AJ. It is Judd. It is a 4-3. That might sound familiar. Wild overtime victory tonight. Kirill Kaprizov, second goal of the game, gives the Wild the win. Plenty to get to, and we will in 1 second. But not before I remind you that if you're looking for tickets for the big game, for a game here when the Olympic break is done, whatever it might be, that SeatGeek is the place to go. More than 35 million downloads. So SeatGeek is the number one rated ticketing app. Plus, every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. I'm checking out tickets right now. Pelicans, Wolves in a couple nights at Target Center. Olivia Dean concerts, sports concerts, Broadway shows, whatever it might be. SeatGeek is the place to go. And just use the code JUD10, as you can see on the screen right there, JUDD10, for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code JUD, JUDD10, and make sure that you get to that next game or show that you want to see. All right, Age, I mentioned 4-3, but let's just start with this. So I'm looking at the game by game, and this is, believe it or not, 5 of the last 7 games have ended with a 4-3 score. It starts, funny enough, with the Canadiens game in Montreal, which was a 4-3 loss. Then you come here, you play Detroit, 4-3 OT win. Then the Florida Panthers here, 4-3 OT loss. Then the Blackhawks, a 4-3 win. And then after beating Calgary and Edmonton in back-to-back games, the Wild wins again. So this is victory number 4 in a row by, again, a score of 4-3. What was your takeaway from this game, which featured 3 more points by Quinn Hughes? We'll get to him. Kirill Kaprizov, 2 goals. What was your overall takeaway from the last game before the Olympic break?
I liked what I saw from the start. This team, they started pretty hot, and obviously it's hard to not have a good win when you and a good start when you score that quickly into the game. Joel Eriksson kicks it off really early. I would say, though, as the game progressed, I thought it sort of got to that feeling of the Wild had a lot of chances to probably make this a bigger gap and not even need overtime. Probably could have put it away in regulation. Canadiens stuck around, and there was resiliency shown by the Wild. Obviously, a couple comebacks to level and then force overtime, but at the same time, I think they looked like a better team and probably should have had more goals on the night. The problem was 6 shots on goal in the first period, only 7 in the second period. They finished the night with 24 shots on goal. Obviously, they scored 4. So it's hard to on one side say they didn't generate enough chances, because obviously they did and they won. But in net, it's not like Jakub Dobeš is a Vezina Trophy caliber goaltender by any means. I would have loved to see a lot more shots fired on net. It felt like at times there were guys that had, I guess, golden opportunities to just put the puck through on goal, and they opt for the passing lane. They opt to move it for the, maybe instead of the, B+ opportunity, they're looking for the A+ golden chance and it should be a slam dunk. This is not a goaltender that I think you need to do that against. I would love to see more volume of shots. This is going to sound like, my lobster is too buttery, my steak is too juicy because they're coming away with 2 points against an opponent that's not even in their conference. But at the same time, it's something to address, because when the team is this good and you're hoping to not just make the playoffs and not just make it out of the first round, but make a deep run, the bar should be set a little higher. That being said, I did like what I saw from some of the superstars tonight. Kirill Kaprizov was fantastic. I think Quinn Hughes, he definitely had a few blunders. I mean, you look at the first goal against, he got caught standing on his heels, a poke check, and I believe that was the Brendan Gallagher goal that he just could have walked around him backhand all alone on Gustafsson. And then on the second one, same thing, late in the period, I think it was 50 seconds left. Sort of same thing, very just lack of effort after, I want to say it was a pretty long shift for him towards the end. And they scored 2-2, and then you go into this intermission, and multiple times you're having to deal with late goals against. I think somebody pointed it out. I believe it was Malachi. He said this was up until that point 3 straight periods that the Wild had allowed a goal in the final, I think, minute or 90 seconds of the period. That's a killer. That changes the attitude, and that changes the discussion a lot in the room going into an intermission. So, on one side of things, it's nice to see the mentality and they can battle that adversity. I think the character is there and they show that they can come back and shake that off. But at the same time, it'd be nice if that wasn't even a problem to discuss to begin with. So maybe not the best of wins, but a win that going into this break, you have one game left now down in Nashville. It was a good showing towards the end and at the beginning. The middle, maybe not as much.
Kirill Kaprizov now, since we I think rightfully so complained a few weeks ago about him failing to score goals because he's paid to score goals, has now 7 goals in his past 5 games. That includes a 2-goal game against the Red Wings, which is what started this streak. 2 goals again tonight. 32 goals on the season. An even strength goal at 15:48 of the first period. The overtime goal we talked about at 3:38 on a power play. So 32 goals. He is now within 2 of tying Marian Gaborik for the most goals scored in Wild history as well. He's at 217. Gabby, I think, was at 219. So Kirill Kaprizov has definitely hit a hot stretch again, and this is what he's paid for. Like this is why he's here to score goals. As far as Quinn Hughes goes, there's some very interesting statistical nuggets on him as well. So the assist that he picked up, his 3rd of the night in overtime, which was the primary assist on the Kaprizov OT goal. 400 assists for Quinn Hughes. He now has 50 assists on the season, and get this, he had 21 assists in 26 games with the Canucks. Tonight, he played in his 25th game with the Wild, so he's almost at the exact amount of games he played with the Canucks, and he has 39 assists. He has 39 assists. And yeah, you're right. There were a couple of defensive plays. I think this was his worst defensive game I've seen him play. He just, the Gallagher goal, to what you said, flat-footed. He was doing some puck watching in his own zone. You do wonder about the amount of ice time he logs if it catches up to him at times. But just as far as an offensive force goes, it is incredible. And there is no question now that Quinn Hughes is more comfortable. 2 things. One is I think he's shooting more. He must have had 6 to 8 shots tonight. And I love to see that because as you talked about, this team needs to shoot more. Quinn Hughes is shooting more. It's almost like someone said, you can probably shoot more. But the other thing, too, is the chemistry with Kaprizov. And I'm not talking the Zuccarello Kaprizov thing, which is nice. I'm talking more of a full-time Hughes looks for Kaprizov. And quite frankly, there's a lot of shifts where they're playing a different game. Like, there's a lot of guys out there, and they're playing, and they're really, really good. They're professional players for a reason. But 43 and 97 are playing a different game, and it's not just their abilities age, it's how they think the game. Because, you can see them, they are literally at times a couple of steps in the offensive zone ahead of their opponents. And so those 2 things, though, 32 goals for Kaprizov and now 39 assists for Quinn Hughes in 25 games are both very impressive. Kaprizov, of course, will get the break for the Olympics. Quinn Hughes will go to play in the games for Team USA.
Yeah, those guys, I mean, it's kind of incredible just how good they've been and how influential they've been. I know we were critical, I think, maybe a couple weeks ago about the lull that granted, it's a lull for him, but in terms of normal hockey players in the NHL, it's about as prolific as it can be. But Kaprizov has really stepped up and taken back that superstar role. I mean, when he first kind of came back, when the Quinn Hughes acquisition was made, he allowed this shadow to kind of go back into and sink back, like the Homer Simpson gif where he kind of just gets back into the fern. And that was okay at first, but then it started to get more noticeable. It's like, oh, where's Kirill? He's still there. And then I think it's 3 goals in 15 games or something like that. And then you start taking notice and you bring it back to the forefront. I feel like maybe nothing really changed in his game as much. We saw a little more dominant performance here and there, and kind of the powerful skating kind of emerge once again. But the way he's been able to, these past handful of games, just take over on shifts, being able to drive through the neutral zone on the ice, and just when the moments seem to be the biggest, he's able to capitalize. I mean, there was a chance, I want to say, in overtime or maybe late in the 3rd, where he was set up on a one-time on the back door and just kind of fanned on the shot. It got him on the heel and he couldn't get anything towards the net. Well, he makes up for it with that OT winner, and he's just the guy that right now playing at this level, this 3-week break that he's going to get, and this is where kind of the global stuff happening, will benefit the Wild in a weird way, where a guy like that, a superstar, should be going to playing in the Olympics, but due to the Olympic Committee not allowing the country of Russia to participate whatsoever, he gets 3 weeks to kind of a little R&R. I know it sounds like he's going to be still working, conditioning, and maybe not like, he's not going to be playing NHL games, but he's going to be on the ice at times or working out in the gym, so he's not going to just come back as a couch potato. But that rest that he's going to get for the final stretch and then into the playoffs, you don't usually get that. And when a superstar like that has the ability to just kind of come back and, I mean, get a month off, essentially, that's going to do wonders for the Wild. Thank you. Quinn Hughes, on the other hand, I mean, I think some people would like to say his finishing at times might, I think he had the breakaway on Thursday that he didn't score on. He's had a couple chances where he just misses the net in grade A opportunities. But his production is just incredible. I think I saw somebody put it in the chat here, the Quinn Apple Company, pretty much. We're gonna have to get him an apple orchard or something, because this guy is bananas. They announced on the PA system here after the game that overtime assist, I believe, is now his 400th career.
Yeah, 400. He's got 50 on the season now. If you combine his Canucks and Wild time, 400 career assists. And tonight he had 6 shots, which I believe led all players. And his willingness now to shoot too, because he's got a great shot and he's got a sort of a seeing eye shot. Like, that's the thing. A lot of guys, if you watch from the point, struggle to get pucks through because of blocks. Hughes has the ability to sort of manipulate the puck to where he wants it. He gets a lot of shots where guys don't. And again, that's his special. That's how special he is as a player. But yeah, 6 shots on goal tonight, and just been an absolute treat to watch. And I saw a comment from someone, and I'm inclined to agree completely, which is, yeah, he didn't play great defensively necessarily tonight, but the comment was that there's a feeling that there's a narrative he's not good defensively, and that's simply not true. He might not be the best player defensively, but I think tonight was his worst game defensively, and I think that he has it's really unfair. He does not suck on defense. Like, there's no part of his game that sucks, okay? So, yeah, if you're saying at times, boy, that wasn't a great play, totally get that, saw that tonight. But Quinn Hughes is a very special player, and he might not be the biggest shutdown defenseman like a Brodin is when he's healthy, but he still does his job. And, yes, the comment that you posted also true. Brock Faber benefits. Brock Faber's goal tonight was great. And don't look now, but Brock Faber now has 13 goals. He now has 13 goals on the season. And let's just do the ice time check, okay? So Brock tonight, 28-21. Quinn Hughes tonight, 33-19. No wonder he looked tired. 33-19. What are we doing here? I mean, he's going to go play in the Olympics. Seriously, 33-19. It's ridiculous.
What are we doing? John Hines, I get it. It's not like you're going to get on his bad side and then get away from him for 3 weeks. He might sit next to you on the plane over to Milan, and then he's going to be like, hey, you're playing me for half an hour, and then I got to sit next to you on this cramped jet going over to Europe.
Well, that's not going to be a cramped jet.
No, that's going to be about as roomy as it can be.
It's a chartered flight by the league, I believe. It's going to be a very nice flight.
God, that's incredible. 33 is insane. Like, half an hour is one thing, but that extra 3 minutes is bananas. And then, we've talked about it, I think, in the past. There was a game where I think Brock Faber eclipsed the 30-minute mark by a second. And Quinn Hughes on that night had, I think, 27 or just over 28 minutes. So that's a pretty noticeable gap. Brock Faber having 28-21 compared to 33-19, that is incredible. And granted, I think Quinn Hughes immediately, no matter whether he knows he or not, is going to take the chance to stay out and extend his shift as he should. But I think given the 25 games that they've seen him up close, personal, and they've kind of they have this more stronger of a relationship and understanding of just how good and what he can do, there's no reason why they shouldn't allow him to kind of push his own minutes at times, especially right now. And maybe they monitor it a little bit closer towards the end of the season when you're getting closer to that the final regular season games. But Judd, what was it last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, where there was a game, I think it was overtime, or maybe it was on the power play or something like that, where he was out there for a shift that was already like a minute and a half. And then a whistle came, and then he kind of just stayed out. Jared Spurgeon was like up on the bench.
It was Calgary.
It was against Calgary, okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah. He's like, I got this.
I'm fine. So yeah, sorry, not 2 weeks ago, 2 games ago. It was on that Thursday. There was a shift where Jared Spurgeon was up and like ready to come on the bench, or come off the bench.
Yep.
And then he just never went off, and then there was a icing, so he couldn't go to begin with. And so Jared Spurgeon essentially had a 4-minute break just sitting on the bench because Quinn Hughes just has a motor like no other. And and I was going to say it because we've had a couple people already bring it up. Almost 300 of you hanging out with us here on this. What is this now? Tuesday? Is this Monday? What day is it?
Monday. It's Monday.
Monday.
Yep, Monday.
On this Monday night after a wild overtime win. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. I know on the show this morning, we talked about, hey, we're coming up on 2,000 subscribers. Well, it didn't even take the rest of the day. It was like by lunchtime, we eclipsed that 2,000 subscriber mark and then some. So thank you very much. But that being said, if you still have not yet subscribed, we'll be pumping out shows all the rest of the season as about as regular as we can. So make sure to follow by clicking that subscribe button right below the video here.
I was just going to say, in fairness, too, part of the reason why Hughes played so much tonight is because Damon Hunt, I guess he got hit by a puck that came up and it sounds like hit him in the throat. He played 152 and then left and did not come back. Zach Bogosian, of course, coming back from an injury as well. First game, I think he had missed 8 consecutive games. He played 16-18, so that drives obviously the playing time as well. But that is absolutely ridiculous. Wanted to talk to you about a couple of other things that we saw, and you've complained about this throughout the season because it's been getting worse and worse and worse. But we saw this tonight, and I thought it was ridiculous. That is, when did we get back to tying the puck up being okay along the boards? Because when I was a kid, it happened all the time, and they would whistle it down and have a face-off. And then, you probably don't recall this, but I think it was it was the Olympic Games, was that 2002 in Utah? The Winter Games in Utah. Anyway,
Sounds right.
The international rules, games were much quicker, and it was like great. And so the National Hockey League, this is pre-lockout, and the game had gotten really boring and slow. And so the National Hockey League adopted some of the rules, the international rules, to keep the game going. And one of them was, we're not going to blow a bunch of whistles for tied up pucks along the boards. You're going to move the puck. Anyway, it feels like that worked for a long time, and it's way better. But again tonight, and I swear I'm seeing it, unless I'm hallucinating, I'm seeing it more and more now, and we saw it late in this game. They are allowing guys, and Montreal tried to do this, and they must have run 10 to 12 seconds off. The league needs to look at this again, because there is nothing entertaining about this game when you have a puck, especially in a key situation, being tied up by a group of guys who are trying to force a face-off. That needs to be looked at, and it needs to be penalized if that's going to be the case, because I'm here to tell you it's not fun. I think you're muted.
There we go. Thank you. It's one of the we've all been there before. It's one of the things I love about hockey, which is the game is so fluid, and it's just like this poetic, physical ballet where these guys are going back and forth, and it's continuous play. And when the flow of a game is great, I think everybody appreciates it. That just brings everything to a halt. Love football, but the starts and stops for me can kind of, or like the final 2 minutes of a basketball game where there's timeouts and now we got to review something. You don't get into that flow, and you can't really embrace the vibe and the emotion of the game. Hockey does that so well naturally, and not just the final 2 minutes, but like the entire game. The middle of the game can go for a 9-minute stretch of just back and forth play where these guys are exchanging punches. When they tie it up in the corner, that kills everything. And the people that come out here, I think they didn't announce the attendance, but I'm sure it was over 18,000. It was a pretty packed house tonight at Grand Casino Arena. These people paid hard-earned money. Like, some of these people are working overtime in order to take their family out and come here. And then in very important moments, you've got Arbor Jacques pinning it along the wall in the corner. And the refs are like, yeah, hey, what a scrum. It's a great scrum. We just got it pinned along there. We'll see who comes out it. And then like Malachi said, he counted 20 seconds. I think I didn't start counting right away, but I got at least 15 seconds. Like it's just killing all the vibe of the game. I don't know why this has now changed. It felt like there was like an unofficial announcement behind the scenes where they told officials, yeah, this is okay now. We're going to let this kind of play out. Blow it dead. Get a face-off, and let's get back to the basics. Let's get back to fluid hockey. There should be no reason why you're just killing if there is a penalty, like if you're on the PK, that's one thing. 5-on-5 situations, there should be no room for it. If it's pinned there for 3 to 5 seconds at most, after that, you whistle it dead to get a face-off. Don't encourage this. Why are we allowing this play to just come to a halt?
You got to call some penalties there too. Like if you're going to do that, if you initiate the freezing of the puck, you got to call penalties because a delay of game late in a game will end that quickly. Can you throw up the comment from Kate? Well, Stick Taps for Sports Dad. Thank you very much. Can you throw up the comment from Cade Hockey at 9:53 p.m. about Vladimir Tarasenko? Because I think we could definitely get to some questions here. And Cade says, hey, Judd and AJ, let's talk about Vladimir T's game. Do you guys think we trade him? Got to strike on while the iron's hot. You can still get draft capital for him. Absolutely not. I don't think so. I don't think this team's looking in any way to dump guys. And you know what? He is who he is. I also... He plays a third-line role okay for you. Like, if you trade him, you're going to get a late-round pick tops, so I see no advantage. Let's see, like tonight, for instance, he had a very old-man Tarasenko type of game. Played 15-13, -1. He had a couple of shots. He blocked a couple of shots, too, including a nice block. I would say right now he's definitely not a negative, but he's also definitely not a guy that you're trying to trade because he fits in that bottom six pretty well. He does go through spurts where he could play really well, but at this point in his life and career, I think that those spurts are brief and can't be expected with any consistency.
Yeah, in terms of trading him, I'm sure there was some sort of behind the scene, like similar to almost what you get with the Barry Trotz situation in Nashville, where Ryan O'Reilly doesn't have a no trade clause or a no move clause, but I'm sure there is a gentleman's agreement of we're not going to do anything that he doesn't want to do. You traded for this guy for future considerations in the offseason. It's the final year of his deal. He's a veteran. He's a former prolific scorer. You've seen that at times, and what he is right now is exactly what you're going to have the rest of the season. And I'm sure at this point in the year, being a veteran, being a savvy guy like he is, he's probably embedded himself emotionally with this locker room, so you don't want to disrupt that. But also, it's the respect thing. It's how you treat, it's how you treat the guys, and then it's I guess the PR move of what you see maybe Vegas do at times. And granted, they're cutthroat and they've won a cup, so maybe kudos to them there. But I don't see anything that Bill Guerin would even consider on moving a guy like Vladimir Tarasenko. But also, the value that he would carry in a trade, hypothetically, is next to none. The cap hit's too big for any team to just absorb for the sake of absorbing. He's not going to benefit any team that wants to move, and I don't think any GM out there would probably move off a youngster or, a up-and-coming guy who could maybe make an impact in the future. But also, I don't know if that's the type of guy that they even would want to trade for right now. You're supposed to be trading for somebody who can help you win right now. A developing guy probably is less than what Vladimir Tarasenko offers on a night-to-night basis, because you do have the occasional game where he goes and rolls the clock back and you get a 2018 Vladimir Tarasenko where his passing is crisp and you can see the mind and the body are kind of working as one, and he's able to weave and do a little extra with his hands, and he just gets to an area where maybe you wouldn't expect it the night before or 2 nights prior. That every once in a while I think would be more valuable than trading for a 21-year-old who may or may not do something.
And you're not going to get that.
Exactly.
Like it's just, he's fine. He started off, I thought, terribly. He picked it up then, and now I think he's at a pretty comfortable spot. Your buddy AJ 49 times at 9:56 p.m. If you could throw that one up, it says, if the Wild got a bad injury at the Olympics, who would be the most impactful? Now, I think you're saying who would you least want to get hurt, or are you saying who would be impactful to step in? Because your buddy AJ 49 times. Here's the problem. If you're asking me who would be most impactful to step in, it depends on who you lose and who gets hurt. I mean, if Eriksson Ek gets hurt, that's a huge problem, and that's my biggest concern. Obviously, if Quinn Hughes gets hurt, if Faber gets hurt, like, if you're asking who would step into their places and be impactful, the answer is you probably wouldn't get that. You'd probably be screwed, which is why they very well are probably going to go through this first trade deadline or this first freeze, this roster freeze, without making a trade, which comes this week, and then we'll probably examine making one before the actual trade deadline in early March, because you got to see who comes back, and this is the most concerning thing from the Olympics. There's a few guys here. If they, if Sturm gets hurt, it ain't ideal, but you can survive it. If again Hughes gets hurt, or Eriksson Ek, or Boldy, or Faber, there's no answer there. So that's been my concern the entire time, because this is clearly a special team. It's a good team, and so that is something that, unfortunately, like, somebody good is going to get hurt. It just depends what team. I think it was at the games in Sochi that John Tavares of Team Canada got hurt. The Islanders, because of that, were basically done. So there are certain guys who can't be replaced, and you're not going to make a trade to replace them. They cannot be replaced. If everybody comes back intact, banged up a little bit, but no worse for the wear, you still need to add, in my opinion, a center. You still need to add, and we can talk about that. The Trocheks of the world shouldn't cost you Volstead. The Tim Stutzlas would. But I think the Trocheks of the world are a starting point. I don't want to go any lower than that on adding a center, but if you're going to make a serious run, in my opinion, Age, you have to start like with a Trocheck and either shoot for that or higher. But you need a top line type of center, just if nothing else, so that Eriksson Ek can stay anchored where he is with Boldy and Johansson on what is a really good second line, which also can take on in opposing teams, especially in a playoff series, first line and scoring line.
Yeah, I think the impact, if Eriksson Ek were to get injured at the Olympics, would be massive. I would almost pivot and say that it's the Hughes. A Hughes injury would be about as catastrophic as anything, just because you made this massive move and moved off of three separate guys who potentially could be playing right now for this team. I mean, I know their standing on Liam Ogren wasn't all that great, but he was getting minutes towards his final time in Minnesota before being traded. But that being all for naught essentially would be about as bad as possible. I don't think by any means they have anybody that can step up, but I feel more confident in the trickle down of they're going to have another guy that could come in and play center. Nowhere near as good, don't get me wrong, but there's nobody that can replicate what Quinn Hughes has done and added to this blue line, because the scoring has been incredible. Before Quinn Hughes, I think it was something like 26th for points by defenseman in the league. Now they're first. He's getting at least an assist, it seems like, if not two, every single night for this team, just generating offense. And we're getting people saying this in the chat, which is Charlie Stramel right now looks great. I don't think by any means he is ready to come in and look like a superstar in the NHL, but he is at least a guy where you've seen this in the past with some college players where they get that call up as soon as their college season ends, and it seems like Michigan State might go pretty deep for as long as that season goes right now. They seem to be a very solid team. But having him sort of in the wings waiting to come in makes me think that a Quinn Hughes injury would be way more impactful. Maybe not way more impactful, but at least slightly more impactful than a Eriksson Ek injury as of right now. What was the second part of your question before you took back over here?
I think that was my main question. And yeah, look, I just don't think. I think if you lose Boldy, if you lose Eriksson Ek, just one of these, not all. But if you lose Boldy, Eriksson Ek, Quinn Hughes, or Faber, I think you're in huge trouble. I think you're absolutely in huge trouble. So yes, I mean Hughes would be one, but Eriksson Ek, what really concerns me is he gets hurt at the drop of a hat, and so he would be two, and that would be catastrophic as well in its own way. Question here I just saw about Austin Matthews. It sounds like he's staying put. I fully don't expect Toronto to trade him.
And they just had a meeting, it sounds like, earlier this week.
Because they're shopping guys.
they're shopping guys, but I'm sure it was hey, we're not going to think about moving you. I hope you don't think that we are. We're trying to rebuild so that we can, with you, make another push next season.
Yes. So he's not, I don't think he's being traded. I like the Volstead market, if you're going to trade him, is a very small group of guys. Like again, I ain't trading him to the Rangers in a Trocheck deal. Now, Strommel, I think very well could be traded, or at least his rights. So I think that's a possibility. But I think if we're talking about, okay, a trade that would involve Volstead, I think that is a very small deadline percentage. Although I will say this, Marc-Andre Fleury up here in the press box, dressed in a nines tonight, nice suit, is in fantastic shape. Absolutely fantastic shape.
And he was out there out at practice today, and he bag skated himself towards the end. From my understanding, in pretty good shape. Do with that information what you will. This is thrown. Yeah. This is being thrown out here. Levi Hagano, 3836 is Kadri time. Judd, we saw Nazem Kadri in person on Thursday. We were down in the suite. I was unimpressed. I was already sort of out on Kadri, but I probably could have been turned around if I saw or heard quite a bit. But what I saw was not anything that I would want to make a move for. He was most noticeable on their power play at times, but that was about it. And when he was noticeable on 5-on-5 situations, I was less than thrilled. I thought he looked like a very opportunistic player in the sense where the play has to be set up and he has to be in the exact right spot, but he never was, in my mind, going to those positions himself, creating opportunities for himself. It was more of he was a restaurant player where he's going out to eat and he wants the meal brought out fully ready for him at the table. He was not willing to do a lot of the cooking himself.
Okay, let's say he was, let's say you're at the deadline and there's not a lot out there. What would you give up if Kadri was your only option, like Calgary's trying to trade him? And I don't think that this is going to happen, but let's just say it does. What would you be willing to give up if he was your last option at the 11th hour?
Oh my God. Not Wallstead, that's for sure. I don't like the term. I don't like the AAV, and this is the problem that I have with him. I want to pull up his stuff all together just so I have it exact here, but he's too old in my mind for the remaining term. Not some Kadri. He's 35 years old, and then you're going to have 1, 2, 3 more seasons after this year at $7 million a year. I just don't think it's all that great. And then you look at he is a minus 20 something on the season already. If I had to make a move, and that is the last thing, because I do think they should do something rather than nothing. It is, oh God, I would. Because I'm on record saying that I don't think the next first rounder that they have in 2027 really does all that well for them and benefits them all that much, I would say I got the first rounder for you. Take it or leave it. Maybe you throw in a mid to lower level prospect as well, but just for the sake of fluffing it up, I think 1-for-1, a late first rounder probably doesn't do anything for the Calgary Flames in return. So you throw in a prospect, but not a good one. By no means a top tier. I could go like mid-level prospect at best.
It looks like at 10:07 p.m. here, the Iron Vibe says, personally, I would go after the Flyers, Zegras or Michkov. Is Zegras available right now? I mean, I don't think either of those guys. I don't think he is. Well, Michkov's weird because you're not playing a ton. Rick Tocchet said he didn't come into camp in shape, and so Rick, who's very old school, was pissed off about that. But I don't know that they're available, and I have heard zero about Zegras being available. He went obviously from the Ducks to the Flyers, and I think has played pretty well. So I don't think that either of those guys can be had. If I could get Zegras, I would take him in a heartbeat. But I don't think you're going to be. But I don't think he's out there.
Does Michkov play center? I thought he was a
dual
winger.
I thought Michkov's a winger.
Okay, so that's where I would go Zegras. But if my memory serves me correct, he's terrible in the face-off dot. So
that's just what they need.
I mean, honestly, he would fit right in with this.
Tonight again, 53% for the Canadiens, 47% for the Wild, and you said what? Like in the last 13 games, they've won the faceoff battle 3 times?
Last month they won 2 of the face-off battles and had one more game where they were 50% even on the nose. That's not great. That was the month of January. And then you go back even further into December, and I think it was December 18th or something like that, where they had another game that they won like 55% of the draw. If you just go look up and down the game log over the past 2 months, it's a lot of mid-40s or high 30% team face-off percentages game by game. Unacceptable. And it's an issue. There's obviously no overnight fix. Otherwise, I would hope that they would have addressed it by now. But they just seem to not have that issue, have that solution. I know you were gonna go through the face-off numbers. One thing that stuck out to me in terms of the Montreal Canadiens, number 71, Jake Evans, was 10-1 on the night in the draw. 91% for him. Nick's is, if I go through the Wild numbers, though, Matt Boldy 0 for 1. Yakov Trenin took a draw. He also was 0-1. Joel Erikssonek, 10-14 for 42%. Danila Yurov, 5-7 for 42%. It looks like Matt Zuccarello took 2 draws on the night, won both of them. Ryan Hartman won 9 of his 14 for 64%, so a pretty good night there for Hartsey. And then Nico Sturm was 1-3 on the night for 23%, or 25%, excuse me. St. Cloud math.
So there's some debate going on in the comments about Ryan O'Reilly and Taze. First of all, on Jonathan Taze, I'm out. He can win faceoffs, but he's cooked. Like I'm just out. It's very unfortunate. Yeah. He probably shouldn't have come back. He can win faceoffs for you, but there's not a lot there that's left. And who knows? Next season, if he comes back again, there might be more. But I just don't think you're going to plug and play him into being a key part of a playoff run with how he's looked. That's my opinion. On O'Reilly, there was some dissension about him, but I am completely on board. And 1, the dude can win faceoffs. But 2, he's been through this before, so has Taze, but I don't think that ROR's age shows nearly as much as Taze has. Again, Taze was retired for 2 or 3 years, coming off, some chronic problems, trying to come back. So it's a totally different dynamic between those two. The other thing that interests me is, today, the news broke out of Nashville that Barry Trotz is stepping down, not immediately, but he's going to step down soon as the Predators GM. He's basically going to stay in place until they find his replacement. And what's interesting about that is it's been Barry Trotz who basically said, Ryan O'Reilly does not have, and God bless the Predators for this, Ryan O'Reilly does not have no trade protection, but we will not any place he does not want to go. Now, I don't know what transpired, but it seems a very odd time for Trotz to announce this. And I do wonder if there was some dissension because, the Preds are basically a team that should sell. They've got a lot to sell, including Steven Stamkos. So I wonder if the people above Barry Trotz said, hey, dude, we need you to do this. And he's like, I can't, whatever. But anyway, Nashville, whom the Wild will play on Wednesday in their last game before the Olympic break, definitely a team to monitor because they for sure have some parts that you would kick the tires on, in my opinion, including O'Reilly and Stamkos. Not both of them, but you would kick the tires on both, and either would be a nice addition. But I've told you guys for a long time, you and Jesse, when she's on the show, I am an ROR stan. I think he'd be a great addition. Might be short term. Don't really care if you can get to a cup.
I'm with you on the ROR, like Stan. I love the factor. He's great. The quirks, the curve on the stick, the off-season workout regimen, everything about him is great. That's a guy that's a leader. That's a guy that's done it in St. Louis. He would also come here, and I think he doesn't need to be buddy-buddy. If he's coming here, he knows he's here to win. And if there's a bad night, if he sees some slacking performances, he's going to get in a guy's grill, and I think that's the grit, maybe pun intended, for the past playoff models by this team. But he would have the grit that I think you would want in a mid-season acquisition, especially closer to the deadline. The problem with ROR, and this is where I stand by my statement after the Quinn Hughes trade, which is right now I have full trust in what Bill Guerin wants to do. I'll at least hear him out. But when it comes to ROR, he's available. People know that they're shopping him. The Nashville Predators are no circumstance to make a run, so they know that people are going to be shopping them. He is probably the most salivating of centers on the market for a lot of teams. So the bidding is going to be there. The price is going to be skyrocketing. How much do you want to pay to play poker? I am very much in the camp of the short list for moving a guy like Jesper Wallstedt. I don't know that ROR cracks my list there because I want a guy who is probably mid to late 20s with term. ROR is not a mid to late 20 guy, and he doesn't have term. So I would say when it comes to him, I think on record they might have said a first and a solid prospect. I will move the prospect tier up, and that's where, yes, I would probably move off of that 2027 first rounder in a higher end, and I would maybe even throw in a third if that's what's going to get it done. If you think about the trade that they made at the draft for Jesper Wallstedt to move up, they threw in that extra third to move up with Edmonton to select Wallstedt. Bill Guerin and his crew are on record saying if that's what's going to prevent us from getting, this guy, then what are we even doing here? Why are we in this job? Because that third round pick is not going to do it. Down the road, we can kind of write that off. It's the first rounders that, or the second rounders for a Gustav Nyquist that really come back to bite you. And so ROR, high on my list, but I think the price is going to be very, very steep because other teams are going to be in on them.
Now, you caused quite a controversy late last week by suggesting Tim Stützle would be your guy in a Wallstedt trade, and people basically called you crazy. They denigrated your
I've been
your
called a lot of
hockey
things
name
over the past 5 days.
Yeah, it was very disturbing. Anyway, just got a comment here. What would you think about the suggestion? I did not see the name of the comment, so I apologize for that. The suggestion was Wallstedt to the Senators for former 7th overall pick by the Buffalo Sabres, Dylan Cozens. And just for context, Cozens once scored in 2022-23 with Buffalo. In 81 games, he scored 31 goals and had 68 points. And this season so far, in 54 games, 18 goals, 41 points. He's a -12, but that's playing for the Senators. What would you think of Dylan Cozens instead of Tim Stützle?
And Dylan Cozens right now is 24. After this season, he has 4 more seasons at 7.1 AAV. I like him as a player, is the thing. I don't know. Long run, I'm not as sold on him. That being said, you can only play one goalie. You have 4 centers that are going to be on the ice every single playoff game. You can only play one goalie at a time. I don't know that having what Jesper Wallstedt set on the bench and potentially be great in the future benefits you all that much when you're trying to win a cup. So if that's what Bill Guerin thinks, I could at least mull it over and probably come around on it. Immediately, my initial reaction is I think that's too much of a pay. Is Dylan Cozens a option to be moved, though? Did they not just sign him or trade for him, last season or in the offseason or something along those lines?
And he might have protection, too, although if I was him, I would not mind coming back and playing for a contender. 53.6 face-off percentage this season. It was 50.6 a year ago, but I mean, it's been out there that the Wild also might kick the tires, not at the deadline so much probably, during the offseason on Brady Tkachuk as well. So let's just say the Wild is all over the Senators' business. Tkachuk, of course, is a wing, correct? And so there's a very, and so I guess I am pretty, at this point, I am pretty attached to, if you're going to do something at the deadline and it's going to be big, it's a center. Like, I'd love, it'd be great to get another wing who could score goals, and that's all great. But when you look at this team's deficiencies right now, like what does this team need today to go from being a very good team to being a team that, okay, you're very, you're formidable now to make a playoff run. I still think that you are a center short because I don't see anyone on the current roster just spiking up where it's like, oh, the playoffs are started and this center is suddenly winning all of these faceoffs. And, I think for better or for worse, Age, we know what the centers on this team can currently do, and that's why I think that I am so stuck on, if you're going to add somebody, and you probably should, it's a center, and it's a good one. The Alex Tuchs, who's now not going to be traded because the Sabres got good, guys like that, yeah, they're great players, but I've gone from being, I could take a wing or a center to, now it's almost certainly going to have to be a center if it comes at the price point that we're expecting.
Yeah, the price point that we're talking about, if that goes out to be a left winger or like a right-handed winger, I will be very, very disappointed. There's a glaring need for this team to, I think, make a deep run, and it's been staring you, myself, John Hines, Bill Guerin, everybody watching and listening to this in the face, which is another center. One, a guy that can win faceoffs. I don't want to say it's embarrassing because that's not the right word, but it is a little disheartening when I see them go out for an overtime session and they trot out 97, Kirill Kaprizov, 43, Quinn Hughes, and then number 14, Judd and AJ. And then Judd and AJ takes the face-off, and then if they win it, he just hustles off and Matt Boldy comes out. But if he doesn't win it like they did tonight, he goes back and they play D, and then when they get possession, then he hustles off, or he waits for an opportunity to scamper to the bench. How about you just get a center that can play those top minutes who can also just win face-offs? I need the face-off numbers to swing. We sit here in the press box here, and we're able to look around the LED boards that circle just above the lower bowl here. And at each end, Judd, there's kind of a mini stat line that reads, how many shots on goal, how much time is left in the period, and then on the very outer edges, face-off percentage. Face-off percentage. I don't know that they're going to need to change the LED bulbs on the Wild side for the spots where, 6 or even 5 probably hit more than 4 and 3, because it's just a lot of 30s and 40% that the Wild seem to hover around. And you can get away with that right now in February. You can get away with that in January. But come April, come May, if they make a run, you're going to need guys that can actually win a face-off, not a guy that's out there for a circumstantial. And I'm not saying that I don't like Joel Eric's next game. He brings a fantastic set of skills for who he is defensively. But I want a guy, who is able to play in the middle with Kaprizov. Also, just a guy who's got the passing and playmaking ability to help Kaprizov kind of reach that full potential. Has he had a 1C his entire career here in Minnesota? I don't think so.
That's the thing, though, is Quinn Hughes' impact on Kaprizov is enormous, and he's a defenseman. Imagine if you gave Kaprizov a center. Like think about that. I mean, Kirill Kaprizov, his goal scoring has ticked up because the more comfortable Quinn got here, clearly, the more that he was comfortable setting Kirill up. And that doesn't just mean shots off the pass. That just means his ability to pass. And so can you imagine if the Wild had a center who was a top-tier center with 97 on his wing? Because Zuccarello is a winger. He can only do so much. But can you imagine if you had Kirill with a top-line center and Quinn Hughes out there? Like, it would be a veritable smorgasbord of potential goal-scoring opportunities. And again, it would be nice to find a center who can not only win faceoffs and be a top-line center, but who thinks the game like Kirill and Quinn do. Just watch them play. They think the game different. Faber's sort of there. But, if you watch the majority of guys, they don't, it's hard. The game is really fast. I'm not faulting them. But when you look at how slow the game looks, the Kaprizov goal from Hughes, the first goal tonight by Kirill, was a prime example. Hughes brings the puck into the zone. He goes behind the Canadiens' net. He comes out from behind the net, and he literally just stands there and waits for Kaprizov, who's in the slot, to get open enough, and they're very, very close, to get open enough to pass him the puck. And from up here in the press box, it seemed like an eternity. And it probably was a long time, but everybody else is trying to catch up. That's the type of specialness we're talking about here. That play does not happen much. I mean, that play did not make sense. That's ordinarily too quick a pass. Kirill shoots, it stopped, it goes wide, take your pick of things. But in this case, because of who the two players were, they literally slowed the game down. Now imagine a center like that as well. And that's where you're talking about a potential nightmare for Colorado. That's where you're talking about a potential nightmare for Dallas, because now you are on a par with being as special as they are in some ways. So that's my final thought, is that's what a center, that play by Quinn Hughes, imagine that play with a center as well, who is almost as special, and toy with that in your mind as you think about playoff potential.
Yeah, and maybe that's where I have to maybe extend my list of guys that I think I would want to see Jesper Wallstedt trading for if they do consider him doing that. Because you need to make a center your top priority just to at least show what that could have. And the benefit of trading for Quinn Hughes as early as you did is you got that 25-game now runway of you can see he's fully integrated. He's got chemistry. He's got a repertoire with a lot of the guys, and you see what the chemistry is there between him and Brock Faber. Obviously, they're going to go now to the Olympics. Whether they play together or not is one thing. But when it comes to a deadline acquisition right at the deadline or something maybe a day or two before, this is where I want to say it was the Penguins that started this trend where they were like, you know what? Why do we have to wait? We know who we want. We're going to just go out and get them. And then they make a trade for a guy a month before the trade deadline. Well, by the time the trade deadline actually rolls around, whoever they acquire, you're getting the Quinn Hughes thing right now. They're in. They have relationships. They are fully into the system. They have an understanding of how everybody plays and what they're supposed to do at certain times, depending on the situation. And am I correct in saying that the trade deadline is slightly pushed back even more because of the Olympics happening, or maybe I'm just making that up in my head, but it feels like it's later. Regardless, final thought is yes, absolutely. There does need to be a priority to select a center out of the prospect pool of what you're going to get in a trade. But when it comes to when it comes to actually making that. Sorry, something's happening underneath me here.
Yeah, I think they are trying to do something.
They're telling us to get out, and that's
all right. All right.
Anyways, my final thought is these past 4 games, I think I said I wanted at least 6 points from the Wild. Well, they've done that and then some. Now you're going to Nashville before you head to the Olympic break. It's been a very solid final few games, and I think I don't know, you could have expected them to maybe just kind of roll over and limp into this break where a lot of the roster just isn't going. But that being said, a lot of the roster is. They've played well. They've shown some resiliency, and they come back in bad situations. They battled today. More so, it's I don't know. It's just going to be one of those things where moving forward, you're going to have to address exactly what they want. Bill Guerin has probably a plan. I don't think they're just going to pull stuff out of the air willy-nilly and just kind of ride the wave. It's just going to come down to what exactly they feel is best for the team.
All right, we got to go because here's what's happening. The Amazon Prime Canada people who have this place rigged with 97 cameras.
Is that what it is?
Yes. This place is completely rigged with wires that aren't ordinarily here. They're trying to take them all down. They had end zone cameras. They had a camera that doesn't ordinarily exist above the ice. This game was only available in that context in Canada tonight, but you saw it a bunch of the views on FanDuel Sports North. Now here's the thing, of course, is that they then have to take all of this equipment down because it's not ordinarily here because FanDuel has about 4 cameras. So anyway, we are done. Back on Wednesday morning with Jesse Pierce, talk about the upcoming Olympics, talk about where things stand, and the Wild will then play Nashville on Wednesday night from Grand Casino Arena. He's AJ, I'm Judd, and unfortunately we didn't get electrocuted there. See you later. Bye.